Communication training with Stan O'Connor. And now we have come to our principle of the week. And our principle this week is everything I say and do is a testament to who I believe I am. So let's talk about that for a moment. Remember that there is a sliver in time. It's a sliver in time between event and response, between what somebody says or does to us and how we respond to them. And during that sliver in time, that's when we stop and reflect on, whether we do this consciously or subconsciously, it does not matter. What's happening is we stop and reflect on who we are. And then what we say and do in that situation is simply a reflection of who we think we are. We've talked about this a lot in our lessons, I know you and I, about how we tend to, when we are not sane, when we're seeing simply illusions and facts in front of us, we tend to think that we say and do what we say and do to other people because of, if this is bad, if we make a communication mistake, if we lose our temper, if we lose our cool and say something that we regret, we tend to think sometimes that we do it because they did X, Y, Z to us first. But that is not true. The truth of the matter is, and we've talked about this before, right? How I say and do what I say and do because of who I am. It has nothing to do with you at all. Just as what you say and do to me has nothing to do with me at all. Therefore, I have to remember that everything I say and do is simply a reflection, a testament, I should say, to who I believe I am. That's all it is. So remember this week, when you are struggling in a communication situation, normally this is in a difficult person situation that I'm referring to, but also when we're having good times, when we receive something good in our life, what we say and do in response to anything really has nothing to do with the events happening around us. It's all about the way we're perceiving events, you know what I mean? None of this has any meaning except for the meaning that I give it. Like, oh, I think it was Nelson Mandela's birthday this past week. Did you see that? Well, depending on when you're watching this, I'm sure it will have passed a long time ago. For me, Nelson Mandela's birthday was just last week. I think he was 96. Good for him. And it amazes me what he experienced, when he was locked up in jail. He did not experience that experience the way most people would have. The way he decided to internalize that experience and then respond to it had nothing to do with what was happening to him. I mean, he was imprisoned. He was treated like a criminal, and all of his rights were taken away. And the way he responded to it showed the, in my opinion, fascinating and incredible person that he was. What he writes about it, what he writes about his thought process, how he responded to that situation had nothing to do with the situation. It was all about him. And if you're a religious person, for example, I'm not, this is not about religion, and I'm not a particular religious person, but in most religions, for example, if you look at the story of Jesus, the way if you're a Christian, it doesn't matter if you are or not, but the story of Jesus, whether you believe it or not, is so powerful to people because it resonates with us on such a deep level that this man was being treated in a horrible way, right? I mean, he was being crucified and, called a clown and a fraud and all of this stuff and, was slapped up, dragged through the streets. And regardless of what was happening to him, he did not respond as though those things were happening to him. He responded in a completely different way from how things were going on around him because that was a reflection of who he was. And the story states, that he was a child of God. You can call it a child of light, a child of the universe. That's what we all are. And that's why that resonates with so many people, I believe. Of course, there's many reasons, but it's because we all look to do that. We all know inside of us that how we communicate and how we respond is going to reflect what we're made of. And when you really look inside of us, we're all made of the same thing. We're all made of that same energy. And when it comes right down to it, all there is love. That's what we're made out of. You can call that energy whatever you want. Honestly, you can call it the Holy Spirit. You can call it the Buddha mind. You can call it the universal light. You can call it love. I tend to call it love. That's my thought pattern. And that's all we're made out of. But I'm a human being, and it's really difficult for me to express that sometimes because I get distracted by life and all of the illusions around me. If I can, however, remind myself every now and then, as we're reminding each other right now, this week, remember in that sliver in time between event and response. When you are about to say or do something, it has nothing to do, just like Nelson Mandela, it has nothing to do with what's going on around you or your experiences. It has everything to do with how you're experiencing your experience. And what that has to do with is whether or not you have centered and stepped back and remembered who you really are. Because when you remember who you really are, you know who you really are. Because it's not about developing who we are, it's about remembering who we are. When you remember that and communicate coming from that point, there's nothing that can stop you. So remember this week, everything you say and do is a reflection of who you believe you are. So everybody, that was lesson 12. I had a blast, and I think I made it through before the rains came. So I'd like to thank you for putting up with me while I rushed through this lesson for you. This is Dan O'Connor with OnlineCommunicationTraining.com. Make sure to stop by our new website that's coming out. If you go to it and it has a coming soon page, any day now it's coming out. It is called DanO'ConnorTraining.com. You'll find lots of products and books, and you'll find more about my speaking and training. You'll find lots of great resources. So make sure to check out our online site. This is Dan O'Connor and Buddy. Oh, Buddy's sleeping. And Buddy, signing off. I'll see you next week, guys. And when you use a person